MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Gura misga ubula, naba maridi gakela, Bismillah.
I will speak in Saho and summary in English because for our external audience, also for many of you. Saho ke may he will add those English habak silly daguzokyo. As you see here, official launching of the Saho project is the topic. So, the scope and the background of the project. What is the scope and what is its background? So I will speak about what's Corpus, why the Saho Corpus, why we need it, how did it start, and what has been accomplished so far in this area. Mostly Dr. Jama will elaborate on that, and future plans. Saahot Makaado, Ismail Ahmed, Nohbar Sain Sabata. I will skip this part. Kado, Ududik, Eltilla Bulio Masalan, Amulaki, Tinio, Talela Kadagan, and Metan Kini Avlo Fadam. مثلا إسماعيل أحمد كعدو شيكا ساهو أفتواني كو تلبته يشحروا بحداتنا يشحروا بحدات الحين ما يمكن تما كان هو رشاس وجيكا ومهما عدت شاكا فديك هم كي يكتبن كافة ساهو تنكتب اللغة كني هذا اللغة كي عيدا تبلغون دولة برسم تعيو تاكو إردم أما تاي يشحروا في جيتك الدبوس كني كافة إرشان نعيو ليل تتلابي صدوم الجدياكو بكالة ساهوت لقاكي عيدها سبته أكي سوغي حوالكو ولينكني صدوم الجدياكو تلا أميتي كان يوم أما أولا باك جراوند أحمد حسين سبته كني أوكي فرتو الليل ساهوت لقاكي أوبسا كي حجة مثلا جرامر لغاها تنكتبيكا ردم مثلا أكانو كسوغي كني أما يبلي أكيلوكا دورمته على تفاعل تعارفكو منقوم كاب يرحل يعني سني وقت حرشيني سني دع سومتك كدفنا نبعيو أبته أباتني نسعول لدول النزوباكو دقم حصو فرا مثلا تل أكاتب لينيكا سيل سنب الله والله ميقع عقباها ين أحمد تاتي إبراهيم محمد كني أما يبلي رمضان عبد الله كدو نرويل يعني روبرتا أحمد يا كنتي روبرتا ومورينو دكتور عبد القادر أما يبلي سليمان محمد تاي أسمر الليلة مشيح كما الحيني أما اللغة اللي اشتغلينو كسيلة إلى تبلونا مساكين بهانيوم مثالة. So as our brother Ahmed pointed out, we have the alphabet, we have the writing system. So the Saho language transferred from oral language to written language. That means it is one step forward. And I will proceed to what is the Saho language corpus. It is a collection of written texts, all sort of spoken language from various sources to be used for multi-purpose. In our case, we aim to build a corpus. For example, the most important thing that you may know or you would like to have is Google Translation for those who can't speak Saho, or in the future, if you want to learn Saho, or if you want to teach someone else, it is easier to have Google Translation. But this is not the only aim, the only purpose. I will leave that area to Dr. Jama. But let me say one thing, what's really happening. If we say the language dies, for example, I will go to why Saho Corpus, why we need it. Because the language can die because of this and other causes, like migration, for example, when you leave home, bilingualism, when you learn other language, for example, language of wider communication, culture. If you are in dominant culture, then the language and the culture is the two faces of the same coin. So if you lose the language, you are losing the culture as well. Language policy of the country or the state, if it's good or bad, and the national disaster, that is different. For example, when people all die accidentally. But what if you were the last speaker of the Saho language in the world? This, I ask always this question to myself. I encourage you, or I invite you to think about this now. What if you were the only speaker of Saho? Saho waan shamara ko sina busatakin duske en katta masalan yujab kedo til haske hasab. Think about. Because there are many languages who happen to be in that situation. So a language is said to be dead when no one speaks it. That means it's dead or extinct. So this is start at home. This is start at home. I am speaking why I'm bringing this, why we need language corpus. Why we need, because of this. I will come to that. Language death at home when parents fail to teach to their children. This is one. By definition, Saho is already dead in London. Do you agree? No. Does anyone disagree with me? You know why? Because if, say, your father speaks the language, but you don't, then when he dies, say after 90 years or 100 years, you don't speak, then the language is dead with him. That's what I mean. So I'm giving an example because we are in London. If you are in Paris or in Riyadh or in Khartoum or in Addis Ababa, wherever you are, if you don't speak your parents' language, that means your indigenous language, after your parents pass away, it will pass away. In London, it's not dead. Now, for example, we have Saho School. I invite you to join us. Okay, so these are the aim of the Saho language corpus, that is to save and preserve the Saho language from being disappeared or extinct, to develop and flourish the Saho language, to create the platform with which this and subsequent generation can proudly make use of their language. Another one is developing the facilities with which an automatic translation, such as Google Translate, and automatic audio text and or text to audio transcription methods are possible for the Saho language. So to translate from language from text to audio, from audio to text. Also, I can leave that area to Dr. Jama. To develop or create an online central database that can be useful for different scholars, researchers, and students who may wish to further their study at master's and PhD levels. So this will be the big database which will be used for everyone who may wish to learn the Saho language. Here I bring this picture when I think of already Brother Ahmed mentioned it, and Dr. Jama will speak about them also. These are the team behind this project, the initiators who started. Professor Giorgio Banti, Moreno Vergari, and Professor Gianni Dore, Roberta, and many of you know what kind of projects or research has been done in the field or back home. This book is coming, for example. This is the outcome of Atlas of Traditional Material Culture of the Saho. This is the team. This means out of this project, this project, this book is coming, and there are a lot of data already, which we can use for this corpus, audio, video, plus that we will do in Eritrea in the field work. Okay, so we knew that there was Dr. Jama who developed Somali corpus, which has more than 7 million words tagged online. So here we have that person. So it is very good experience for all of us. In the, for example, this was the first meeting when I met Dr. Jama. Already أميك وصل لكن ستجاني وعناخو ستجاني معنا كنوس كأني من اليوم كلا كل تعلق إني أدري ستجاني ياكو I have no idea إن هذا just we had extensive discussion and we decided to go on with this project. After we had another chance of him explaining us through Zoom. Here you can see Tirsit and Dr. Jama, myself, Giorgio Banti, and Martin Orwin. So Dr. Jama was our speaker, and he was explaining what is happening in Somali and what we are going to do in Saho. The third meeting was in London. Here we are, third London meeting. It happened, Ahmed mentioned it, in 22nd of May 22. So this was the third meeting I mean, we had. I think then after I had also a privilege of meeting Dr. Jama in Addis Ababa University. That was fourth encounter in Addis Ababa University. That was 30th of September, and again in the 1st of October this year. So here we are. This was some of the pictures we took there. I could say many things about this, but I will give the floor to Dr. Jama. Now I would like to invite Dr. Jama to take us through what he has done already. I finished my presentation. Thank you, Dr. Jama.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I hope the microphone is functioning. So, if we worked for our language and I was able to speak Saho, I wouldn't have used English, for example. I feel so close to my brothers and sisters here, but yet we need to speak English in order to understand each other. We could have used even Arabic, but it's still because of we are sort of failing to teach our children and the young people who are growing up here in London, for instance. They might not understand us if we speak in Arabic, or if we speak in English, in Somali, or if we speak in Saho. But again, we need to speak in English. So, Alhamdulillah, it was 5 months ago, exactly, more or less 5 months ago, when we met some of you. And I want to share just what happened since then, just to share with you since then what has been done. Brother Ustad Ahmed Saad was saying, because of thanks to technology, this project became true. I don't think that the technology was the reason, but because of the wonderful that both Ahmed Suleiman and Ustad Ahmed Saad has done, is the reason that we are here. So I want to recognize the work that they have done, and I want to thank all the people who, for some reason, because of they reached out via a Twitter, for instance, supported me to collect the data that I am showing you today. So I will not be repeating what has been said by my brothers here, but I want to little bit to go back the reason why we need to develop for our language. And in this case, I'm talking about Saho language exclusively. And I am mentioning Somali because of we developed these toolkits for Somali, why it is important. Today we have, for the Somali language, 7 million words tagged in our corpus, which makes the only African language that has such a number in electronic version. So Somali is the only African language that has with this kind of figures in terms of corpus. For the Saho today, we are more than 100,000, we will see, because of in the meantime, I was working in these days with the two brothers who were passing me, and friends from Italy who was passing me some information, so I was adding, so I think we are about 150,000 words so far tagged, and I will explain a little bit what does mean this. For other languages, Ustad Ahmed Saad was telling that we met in Addis Ababa for Ethiopian Congress for Ethiopian Studies, International Congress for Ethiopian Studies. And when I presented Saho, it was a kind of a wake-up call. So many languages spoken in Somaliland, mainly in Ethiopia, but has to do with the Saho and the Somali. People ask it. Everyone wanted to produce a corpus because if we show that with Saho language we could do. Now, so there has been another work for the so-called Omotana family, which I will explain for those who are linguists, those who are these languages. The reason why I'm mentioning Omotana is unfortunately many of these languages today dead, disappeared, and no one is speaking anymore. And the risk is there. The risk that, Somali is spoken today, 16 million people, so it's difficult to think that the Somali is dying. Saho, it's difficult to think that Saho is dying because there are a good number of people who are speaking, and there are some works that's being done and written, and it has its own, and now we are building the corpus. But many other languages, indigenous languages from our societies, and mainly from the minority languages that the majority culture dominated for long time, and mainly this is happening in Ethiopia, happening in other parts of Africa, today they are dying or they already dead. So we have to do something. No one will come to us, and why I'm really so proud of this project of the Saho language is that the idea started among the scholars. There was no any project behind, there was no anyone who is funding, there was no any government behind, there was no any university funding, but it was something started among friends. It said we can do, and we can do with our community, and we can do with the people who believe that we need to preserve our language, so whether it's Somali or whether it's Saho language. So if we could succeed to do something in so short time, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, which means we can do ourselves without relying on foreign or international organization or the UN or UNESCO or those big institutions who have no reason to protect our culture, to protect our identity, to protect what we are. They have no any reason. But we have a reason, and these kids, children, are for the reason why we are doing. So if we do that, and if we are capable to do for the Saho in so short time, and inshallah we will do much more for the next 6 months, because I asked her to stop any other language for the people who requested from Afar, Oromo, and many Tigray, many Ethiopian languages requested to do a good corpus. I said, okay, let us develop Saho and do well this project, and then inshallah we will pass in the future other languages. But let us try to do this Saho language. So it's important that in so short time we develop it. The point I want to make is if the people come together, support each other, everyone feels the responsibility without expecting any gain, whether it's a name, whether it's money, whether it's a work, then people can do something big if they put their forces together. So that's why for me it's something that really made me proud that we can do. It was just May when we met here, and despite we were doing so many other things, you will see that we were able to produce a good corpus. So what we have to do, the brothers Ahmed and Ahmed told why it's the reason that we have to build. Corpus is in generally database. Do this example. we are going in a technology, what they call it the smart world, with something that divides us, our generation, from our children, that tomorrow, when they come to the room, they don't switch on the TV, but they will speak to the house saying, Google or smart element, please switch on the TV. That's what is happening. It's already happening. You have seen that we have some watches that are controlling our health, controlling our health issue. All those smart things will be happening to speak in English. Do we want to force our people to speak those languages and remain the technology behind? I want to see my grandmother, who might speak Saho or Somali, can speak to the computer in her own language and still do what she wanted. But who has to do that? Why someone who is speaking English should do for us that? We have to do for ourselves. Because of we are the people who need that the technology is that our language in Saho, in this case, go with the same line with the technology. Otherwise, it will remain behind. And we will be disconnected from the generation, Saho generation, people who are coming up. So it is fundamental to have a database, a strong database containing the data, and then we offer this data for free to everyone, to Google, who have a huge amount of money, to Apple, to all the technology companies. We give them for free because of we want to get back something for our language. Otherwise, they will not do for us, and we will be cut off. So that database is a fundamental, it's the base for many other applications that today in your life you are using. When you are writing an email in Saho, you do not have a spelling checker. So you do what comes to your mind. If you are using Word, Microsoft Word, you don't have a spelling checker. You don't have grammar checker. But if you are writing in English, if you're writing Italian, if you're writing Arabic even, you have all those elements. These two languages can go together with technology? No. So we need to develop. And in order to develop that and have a spelling checker, translator, voice to data, data to voice, robots who are speaking when the robot is cleaning house. Tomorrow our houses will be cleaned by robot. I want that robot can speak and understand in Saho instead of only speaking to English or Italian. So it is extremely fundamental because it is not just for why I always campaign for the identity, for for our history. No, it's our life of today. It's not anymore the past that we have to protect, but we have to see in the future, and we have to bring our language in the technology of today. So for that, it's becoming important to have. It is a building, in this case, we have to build. I don't want to go to the technical and details of the structure and how it will work, because of that will be something between us, our team, and the other people who are working. So I will not talk to you about how the system will be working and who is working, who is putting data and so on. But I wanted to show you some couple of examples, and most importantly, ask you how each of you can support in this project and can contribute. So we want what we want. We want to build, imagine a big database, a big recipient that contains words. That's all what we need for our language. So the more of you can use the system and add and write instead of English, Saho, you are contributing. At the same time, you are getting back something good. What is it? Your Saho language written good. So you are using to get your spelling checker, the system is getting because of its learning from you. Every time that you use a word that the system doesn't know, it will collect that word and will know from its ignorance that it doesn't know that word, it will learn from it. But then we will need to go where our people who speak indigenous terminologies are. So we will go back home and check and record in order not to lose those fundamental words that otherwise we will lose for good. Why the language is important? It is the formation of your thought. Whenever you think as a human, if you want to pass and explain to me what you thought about, you need to use a language. You need to use your language. So if you have a problem with your language, you will not be able to pass to me what you want to tell me. So that's the language is something so fundamental. Ilahi subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us and differentiated from everything else the possibility to speak to each of us and understand. So it's so fundamental. When you are dreaming, have you asked yourself in which language you dream? In which language you dream? Definitely for your mother tongue. That's why I call it mother tongue. And it is fundamental, because if you cannot express your dreams, if you cannot express your thought, then you are not a full human being as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you, one of the most sophisticated creation for this world, in this world. So it's a fundamental that our language goes with the technology, our language goes with our life, and our language goes with our children. So it's extremely fundamental. It is not just for me as an academic exercise. Yes, it's also my job to do this kind of work for languages, but it is something that I ideologically and I believe in. And it's my belief that we need to save these things. So we need to take, that's why I am going back to take the oral, not only the written Saho documents, but in the orality. So we go to our mountains and see the people who are living there and record the words that we get, the technology that someone else want to clean, our own mathematics, our own sciences that existed and still exist, but the dominant culture of the Western want to clean. We need to go back and record those information. So we will need to major practice because of our oral society. This is what I learned. I'm really sorry that I don't know, because every time I'm working on the Saho language, and then I got someone who translates for me, and I feel how we are so close to each other, with one community. In terms of poetry, in terms of expression, in terms of poetic expression, but also proverbs and riddles, I mirror myself as a Somalilander, as someone who speaks Somali language with the community, with Saho speaker community. So we will do the same thing. So we will divide poetic and prose literature in order to create the more data that we need. So this is what I need. So I will be listing things that in order to do really good work in so short time as we already did, and as I already showed you, this kind of information. Anyone who has a text or who know by heart in their memory any poem can contribute to the system. If you have in a PDF, send it. If you have in doc, send it. If you have just scan, take with your mobile and send this poem. And it will go to the corpus, of course, after the editorial board has approved it. We need traditional songs. We need proverbs and riddles. We need traditional stories. We need novels, essays, newspaper, theater, scientific texts. Why I'm dividing all those things? Because I want to take the picture of our society in every aspect of life that we are doing. So we are people who can, our young generations who graduated university speak in an academic way. So they have scientific methodology to think. We need their information, scientific texts. But also we need our poets because we need their thought and how they were thinking and solving the problem of the world.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, Gura misga ubula, Naba maridi gakela, Bismillah.